second graders. Welcome back to another great day of studying another great book. I've got my copy of The Invisible Boy again. And I want you to see on this slide, we're going to use this book more than one day. A lot of times kids will say, but we've already read this story. And I say, I know, but we're going to do something else with the story. And to do something else with the story, it's going to really help us that we've already heard the story one time. Today, we're going to do two things with this book. The first learning target I've got written on the board says, I can describe what happens in the text to make Brian feel invisible at the beginning. And that's the first thing we're going to do today. We're going to describe what happens in the text that makes Brian feel invisible in the beginning. So my first question, I want to reread parts of that book with that question in mind. So let me come over here. This now is the slide that I want to be thinking about. Why did Brian feel invisible at the beginning of the story? Okay. So I've got, and that's not too close, I've got this book here, and I'm going to read to you a couple pages from it, and we're thinking the whole time, why does he feel invisible? Okay. You can see him there. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. How can you tell which one is Brian? Well, I think the illustrator chose to illustrate him a little differently. He's the boy that is right here, and he's drawn in black and white, and he looks small. Now, what's happening in the classroom that makes it hard for Mrs. Carlotti to notice Brian? Yeah, he's pretty quiet, isn't he? The other kids are shouting, and some of them are misbehaving, but Brian's just standing there very quietly. I think Mrs. Carlotti is so busy trying to make sure that her students are not misbehaving and that they're not so loud. Sophie whines. Oh, sorry, I missed the top part. Nathan has problems with what Mrs. Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice too much. And Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian doesn't. Now, let's think about how we might answer the question. Let's go back to let me get my slide back here. Let's go back over here to this slide. Got to find my tab here. And oh goodness, now I can't figure out how to get back to my slide, and I don't want to. Oh wait, I think I saw it. Guys. Nope, that's the reverse. Hang on. There we are. Okay, learning new stuff all the time. All right, so my question was, and I'm not sure how my question got all the way down here. I didn't want it to be kind of up here. I think I must have messed up my slide a little bit. My question, I'll just leave it alone. It says, why did Brian feel invisible at the beginning of the story? And to answer that question, I need to start it off with the sentence, Brian felt invisible because, what can we say? Brian felt invisible. I'm going to look at my pictures, and you can always go back and look at your recording, because his teacher doesn't really notice him. His teacher is so busy noticing these other two kiddos in the class that she hasn't really noticed him. So maybe he feels invisible because the teacher's not really noticing him. She's spending all of her time with these other two kiddos. And he knows that he's pretty quiet. So that's how I might answer that question. Now, the next learning target that we have today is, let me see if am I over here now? Okay, the next learning target we have is down here. I can respond to questions using details from the text to support my answers. Details from the text. Details from the text are like things that it actually happened in the story. Now, I just did that because when I answered why he felt invisible, I said because the teacher's not paying attention to him. That was happening in the story. The teacher was paying attention to those other two kids. So those are details from the text. And if I can use details from the text, then my teacher and everybody will know that my response is correct. So that's called supporting your answers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what your questions for today that you're going to answer are going to look like. Let's get back over here to this slide. Okay, I have 3 questions for you on this slide. I have, how does Brian feel at recess? What detail in the text or picture helps you know how Brian feels? And what in the story makes him feel this way? And then the 4th thing is to draw me a picture to show what you're thinking. So you're going to answer these 3 questions today. I'm going to come back to page 5. And I need to see if I can get there I am. Okay, I'm back. So on page 5, I'm going to read a little bit more of this story to you, and we're going to think about it before I send you off to answer these questions. When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for their kickball teams. The best players get picked first, and then the best friends of the best players. Oh, I have to do like this so you can see that page. Keep paying attention to Brian. Then the friends of the best friends. And only Brian is left, still waiting and hoping. JT glances in Brian's direction and just as quickly looks away. We've got enough players for each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball. And we're going to stop. We don't want to go through any more of those pages today. You can go back and reread those pages by either rewatching this video, or you can go back to your YouTube video of the read aloud. But I want you to stop after that page, page 8, and I want you to use just those pages to answer these questions. How does Brian feel at recess? Well, the text said Brian was hopeful. Right before when they were picking kids, he was hopeful. He figured, he'd be up next to be picked. So I could say Brian feels hopeful as a response to this question here. But then you'll notice, though, that I think on page 8, he feels hopeful on like pages 5 and 6, but I'm not so sure that by pages 7 and 8, this is still recess, that he still feels that way. So what I want you to do is, I want you to answer these 3 questions in your red reading notebook, and then I want you to draw me a picture to show your thinking, to show me what you're thinking about Brian's feelings at recess. So you could choose to talk about Brian in the first part of recess where he was feeling hopeful, or you could choose to talk about Brian in the second part of recess. Okay? All right, guys. I know you can do this. I'll see you next time.